Today's third video for you. Breaking news is from Oromia region of Ethiopia. A member of parliament from Oromia region, member of Prosperity Party, just a few minutes ago spoke about killings, civilian killings in Wellega. And he is accusing Oromia regional government. Who is this member of parliament? How credible is he? Second news story is about increase in fuel prices. Ethiopian government announced a hike in fuel prices an hour ago. Is Ethiopian government going to receive some loans from IMF or World Bank? Because when these institutions grant loans, before that they want governments to take some measures like increase in oil prices, increase in gas prices, in electricity prices. Third news story is about an armed group operating for years in Somalia, Al-Shabaab, in control of around 1/3 of Somalia. Today, Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud, Somalia's newly elected president who is in Turkey, spoke about this group. Is Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud's government going to talk to this group, or will the government launch an operation? Is there any possibility of talks between Somalia's government of Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud and this armed group? What did Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud say? We have a clip for you. Fourthly, we have a new story about meeting of IGAD, which was held today in Nairobi, Kenya. Eritrea was missing. Eritrea did not attend IGAD meeting. Fifthly, PM Abiy and EU's Gebremichael held a phone call a few hours ago. EU again urged PM Abiy's government to do more before resumption of budget support for Ethiopian government. What did EU say? And lastly was Debretsion Gebremichael talked to some foreign journalists. We have a clip for you. And Tigray blockade came under discussion in UK's parliament. We have a clip for you. Firstly, was breaking news is from Oromia region of Ethiopia, where we have seen two large-scale massacres in which hundreds of civilians have been killed in the past 2 weeks. First massacre was committed in West Wellega near Gimbi. More than 300 were killed more than a week ago. Most of the killed were ethnic Amharas, some Oromos too, Muslims as well. Then second ethnic massacre committed a few hours ago, this time in Kalam, Wellega. And here again, dozens were killed, though so far government has not shared numbers. Some say more than 100 have been killed in Kalam, Wellega. Ethiopian PM Abiy accused Shine Oromo Liberation Army that it is behind both massacres. And last night, Ethiopian PM Abiy announced to wipe out Oromo Liberation Army. And we saw last week that a meeting was held in Bahida, where Oromia regional president and Amhara regional president, they held joint meetings and they announced joint operations against OLA Shine in Oromia. OLA denied both attacks. OLA said some independent investigation should be conducted by local international investigators. Now, we have two statements for you. First, one I shared in the previous video, which was given by Taye Dandia, who is State Minister of Peace for Ethiopia. In his statement, Taye Dandie did not name Oromo Liberation Army. Rather, indirectly, it seemed as if he was blaming Oromia regional government. Directly, he did not blame Oromia regional government. But after that, Hangasa Ibrahim spoke. He speaks without pulling any punches. He is known for controversial, fiery speeches. He is a member of parliament. He is a member of Prosperity Party. He is a Canadian national. And he is member of parliament from Harar city, known for his fiery speeches. If you remember, a few months ago, Oromo Kareo elders were killed in eastern Shiva, I think, zone of Oromia. When around more than 10 were killed, I did several videos on that. And back then, Oromia regional government accused OLA that OLA killed Oromo Kareo elders, Abagadas. OLA denied. And Hangasa Ibrahim spoke back then. He accused government forces. He had said that government forces were behind the killing of Oromo Kareo elders. Later, Human Rights Commission of Ethiopia, led by Daniel Bakele, conducted an inquiry. And Human Rights Commission of Ethiopia confirmed what was said by Hangasa Ibrahim, that Oromo Kareo elders were killed by government, Oromia government forces, not by OLA. What did Hangasa Ibrahim say today about people being killed in Wellega? He says, people in Wellega are in general being killed by Oromia regional president Shimalis Abdisa, not by Shane. Oromo Liberation Army is generally not killing people in Wellega. So he is openly saying that it is Oromia regional government which is involved in two massacres which have happened in the past few days in West Wellega and Kellam Wellega. He says that he demanded removal of Shimalis Abdisa, like Abdi Ile was removed in the Somalia region of Ethiopia in 2018 when PM Abiy came to power. There were protests, killings in Somali region, and back then region was led by Abdi Ile, president of the region, appointed during EPRDF government, and then Abdi Ile was removed from power. He was put in prison. Hangasa Ibrahim is demanding similar action against Shimalis Abdisa, that his government is involved in killings in Wellega. It seems some heads are going to roll in Oromia region of Ethiopia. Hangasa and Taye Dandia both are known for making controversial speeches, and they are of the same group, you can say. They have been critical of Oromia regional government. Hangasa in his parliament speeches said that dozens of towns and cities were under OLA control, which we know, but government kept on denying. Now he is accusing Oromia region president Shimalis Abdisa that he is involved in his forces by naming Shimalis Abdisa. He is basically saying that Oromia regional forces are involved. Oromia region-backed militias are involved in the massacres being committed in Wellega. What will regional government do now? What will Ethiopian PM Abiy do? PM Abiy says Shane is behind both massacres in Western and Kellam Wellega. But both Taye Dandia and Hangasa Ibrahim are differing with PM Abiy's position. I think we could see some change in Oromia, some political change in Oromia in coming days. Secondly, viewers, Ethiopian government has increased fuel prices. Subsidy has been lifted. Petrol price, fuel, diesel price have been increased by around 30%. So at a crucial time when there are other issues like rising food item prices, unemployment, inflation. This increase in fuel prices will be another burden on Ethiopian people. The question is, why is the government increasing the prices? Some say that government is in talks with international financial institutions like IMF and World Bank for loans. And before the loans, these international institutions want the government to withdraw subsidies. That is why subsidy on fuel is being withdrawn. Fuel prices are going to increase from midnight. We have seen severe fuel shortage in Ethiopia in recent days. Why? Because fuel was being stored by petrol station owners, by fuel distribution companies. They knew that subsidy will be lifted in coming days. Before that, they were buying subsidized fuel but storing it. Now from tomorrow, they'll sell this fuel at increased prices. Thirdly, Somalia's newly elected President Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud is visiting Turkey. This is his second official visit. He was in the UAE a few days ago, and yesterday he arrived in Turkey. There he spoke about the armed group operating in Somalia, Al-Shabaab, in control of around 1/3 of Somalia. Is there any possibility of talks between Somalia's government and Al-Shabaab? He ruled out the possibility of talks. He said no possibility of talks now. It can happen in future, but not now. It means that Somalia's government, with the help of US and other countries, is going to launch a major operation against this armed group, which is a state within a state in control of 1/3 of Somalia. Take a listen to what Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud said in Turkey about this armed group.
But we are not right now in a position to negotiate with Al-Shabaab. We will, at the right time, we will negotiate with them. We will finish peacefully. And even now we open a door for those who wanted to denounce the violence, the extremist ideologies, and join the mainstream life of Somalia. If they want to open their political parties or whatever they want, but not with the distorted ideology, not with the extremism ideology, not with using the violence as a means to reach the end. These are some of the new approaches that we are doing.
Fourthly, viewers, IGAD held its extraordinary heads of state summit today in Nairobi, Kenya. Eritrea was missing. Eritrea did not attend IGAD summit. Eritrea was suspended from IGAD a few years ago, but it was for some years. Later, Eritrea was reinstated as member of IGAD. But today, Eritrea did not attend this special extraordinary summit held in Nairobi, Kenya. Ismail Omar from Djibouti, PM Abiy from Ethiopia, Uhuru Kenyatta from Kenya, General Burhan from Sudan were there. From Uganda, South Sudan and Somalia, there were no heads of state. Museveni did not attend this summit. Hassan Sheikh is in Turkey. And Salva Kiir was not there as well from South Sudan. So there were four heads of state there. Uhuru, Ismail Omar, Abiy and Burhan. Eritrea obviously did not attend it. What was the summit about? The summit was about regional issues. Joint statement has been issued after the meeting. The statement appreciates Ethiopian government's recent announcements, recent moves to resolve Tigray conflict peacefully. The summit appreciate tripartite mechanism which is facilitating dialogue in Sudan, and the statement urges US to be part of the process which is overseeing part of the mechanism which is overseeing transition in South Sudan. The statement addresses drought as well, that international community should step up its support for handling drought in Ethiopia, Kenya and Somalia. Overall, the summit was an opportunity for Ethiopia and Sudan to meet. And today we saw Abiy Ahmed and General Burhan held a meeting. So it could lead to some normalization of border situation where we have seen fighting, tensions in recent days. Ethiopia about to start third filling of good, tensions there, but this meeting between Burhan and Abiy could pave the way for normalization of Sudan-Ethiopia ties. Otherwise, IGAD summit was just statements, nothing else, nothing extraordinary announced in the joint statement. Fifthly, viewers, we have a new story about Ethiopian government and EU relations. EU withheld financial assistance for Ethiopian government last year after the start of Tigray conflict over human rights abuses in Tigray in Ethiopia. Since then, PM Abiy's government has been working on resumption of EU financial assistance for Ethiopian government, but we know that a few days ago EU announced 80 million euros for Ethiopia, but the money will be spent through NGOs. It will be spent on projects in health and education sectors of Ethiopia. Ethiopian government wants some support for its budget, but EU has not so far decided to provide budgetary support to Ethiopian government. Today, a few hours ago on Monday, there was a phone call between PM Abiy and EU's Scholz Michael. And once again, EU urged Ethiopian government to do more to restore basic services in Tigray, especially telecommunication. EU pressed the government to resume telecom in Tigray and start talks with Tigray regional government. Ethiopian government has formed a committee for talks. But Tigray says first restore basic services, then we'll start talks. So that is why we could see resumption of basic services in Tigray, because now this is pre-condition from Tigray to be part of talks with Ethiopian federal government. And Ethiopian federal government is being pressed by the EU, by the US, that it should start talks. That is why we could see resumption of basic services, especially telecom could be restored in Tigray in coming days. So far, EU has not decided to give direct financial aid, budgetary support to Ethiopian government. Lastly, was Tigray. We have a clip for you, two clips for you. First one shows Debretsion Gebremichael Tigray president. He talked to French journalists who made a documentary on Tigray, on humanitarian crisis in Tigray. French journalist entered Tigray somehow. He sneaked into Tigray and he recorded the plight of Tigrayans. He talked to Debretsion Gebremichael Tigray president too. We have a clip of Debretsion Gebremichael. Secondly, this documentary was mentioned at a session of UK's House of Lords as well, where a member of the House spoke about this documentary. Watch two videos. First one shows Debretsion Gebremichael and the other one shows a session of UK's House of Lords where this documentary was mentioned by a member. Thank you for watching.
You know, human catastrophe is happening in Tigray because of this siege and blockade. It's very clear. There is no transport, you know. There is no communication. There is no power. There is no banking. It's not just blocking. It's not the siege. And the whole thing is blockade. Is in every form. So they hold everything. There is no movement at all. There is no in and out. So they have decided to kill us, to finish us within this box.
Lords, has the Noble Lord had a chance to look at the link which I sent him over the weekend of a French documentary, the first in 18 months, to be undertaken by international independent journalists who had access to Tigray, entitled Tigray, the Land of Hunger? And it develops a point made by the Noble Baroness Lady Wheeler. It's about the deliberate starvation of the people of Tigray, which, my lords, is a war crime. Does the Noble Lord agree that with 6 million people under siege, starving to death, the situation that will only be worsened by the blockades in Ukraine, that Tigray is without electricity, internet, banking services and medical supplies, and the situation for them is dire? When will the FCDO Jack's report, the review of joint analysis and conflict stability in Ethiopia, be completed? And are we preserving the evidence so that those responsible for atrocity crimes will be brought to justice? Does he agree that there can be no peace without justice?
My Lords, on the Noble Lord's final point, I totally agree with the Noble Lord, and we are ensuring both through the deployment